Welcome to episode 14 of the Savage Podcast, and I just want to share with you guys my story real quick. This is going to be a quick podcast episode to share my story for inspiration, just like a biography, autobiography. Listen to this at 1.5 or 2x speed to get through this faster, condense information, to get inspired through the different challenges and different things I did, the overcome certain challenges and successes I've had in my life, and definitely stay towards the end where I share where I'm at now and the lessons that I'm applying now into my life. So starting, born and raised in Spokane, Washington. Shout out Eastern Washington, Spokane, Washington. I was bullied physically and verbally as a kid. I moved around. My father and mother were never married. I was born and raised in Spokane, but I also was raised in Nevada until about 4 years old. They split. But I was bullied physically and verbally for being overweight from like the ages of 10 to 13. So later elementary, middle school time, fourth, fifth, sixth, third, fourth, fifth, sixth grade. I was thrown on the ground, kicked in the stomach. I remember one time when I lived in Spokane or Spokane Valley, it was winter time. I was being bullied by two kids for being overweight. Yeah, they shoved me on the ground, kicked me in the stomach, and it was because they said I was fat. Now, roughly around fifth grade, in middle school, right, or elementary school, fifth grade, I was living in Spokane Valley. Shout out Spokane Valley, Eastern Washington. Um, I asked the girl out, right? This is the end of fifth grade, and she rejected me. She told me, "Oh, I don't want to be with you," or whatever, something. I was the first girl I ever asked out. And funny thing, my mother's name is Mariah. My mother's name's Mariah. This girl's name was Mariah, right? So shout out Mariah. If they Anyways, she ended up telling the whole school the reason that she didn't want to be with me is because I was overweight, because I was fat. And I was like maybe 12, 13 years old at the time. That pissed me off. That was my why. That was the why that made me cry. That ignited the flame, the motivation within myself to get sick and tired of being sick and tired and drop the weight that summer. Because, as a kid, you have the whole summer to do whatever you want. At least I did at the time, fifth grade going into middle school, sixth grade, and I became obsessed with doing pull-ups, chin-ups, doing 500 push-ups a day, running around the block, running around multiple blocks, jogging. And then I got really into basketball. I was a little bit into basketball before that, but I was playing like 4, 6, 8 hours a day all summer for 3 months straight. And then I would only like one meal a day, just like a salad or whatever, one meal a day. And then I started drinking energy drinks. Don't recommend that, right? Anyway, I dropped like 30, 40 pounds that summer, and I also grew like 4 inches, 5 inches, like a good amount. So I went into my middle school year, sixth grade, only went going from like 130, 135 to like 90 pounds. And I was like 5'7" now, right? So I was way skinny, and I actually got bullied my sixth grade year. You know how kids are, for being skinny. Like, oh wow, now you're so skinny, da 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 da. Like everyone called me skinny, and I was like, man, and I was still obsessed with basketball, basketball, basketball. Um, but that got me into weightlifting. So I started weightlifting sixth grade. Seventh grade, I moved from Spokane, Washington to a small farm town between Spokane and Pullman, WSU, in the farm country. And I started obsessing about weightlifting. I was varsity in middle school, basketball superstar, started getting obsessing about weightlifting, and that allowed me to move into high school, right? When I got into high school around ninth grade to starting varsity, ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and high school basketball, and becoming the strongest person in my high school. I could squat 405, I could deadlift 405, I could bench over two plates, right? Going into high school, that I no longer was being bullied, obviously, for at least my physique. And anyway, when I was in sophomore year in high school, my mother asked me, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" Because at the time, I was really obsessed with school. I was getting really good grades. I was really into basketball. I was really into working out. And I told my mom, "I'm going to be a fitness YouTuber." Shout out YouTube, you guys watching on YouTube. That was over 8 years ago or longer, not 8 or 9 years ago. And anyways, I told my mom I'm gonna be. I looked her right in the eyes. I said, "Mama, I'm gonna be a YouTube fitness influencer." She was like, "What the hell?" And anyways, uh, look at where we're at now. Anyway, from there I moved to wanted to live with my father because I lived with my mother all the way growing up, and I wanted to make something of myself and experience the big city life and live with my dad. So I moved from the small farm town in Eastern Washington to Carson City, Nevada, the state capital of Nevada. Shout out Nevada, shout out Carson City, Reno, Tahoe, Nevada. Moved there, and I lived there for about 2 years. And My dad is now homeless. My dad's homeless in Reno, Nevada. He's been homeless now for 4 years, and I try to help him out as much as I can, mentally, emotionally, financially, whenever I can. Anyway, living there those 2 years, I still was varsity basketball player my junior year in high school, still was really into weightlifting. Anyway, because of bad influences, being part of a gangs and the bad influences I had there in Carson City, I ended up getting into a lot of weed, a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, partying every weekend, smoking weed every day, even got into selling. Anyways, so my life kind of declined from there. Though I did work at a grocery store, worked at McDonald's, worked at Dunkin' Donuts, worked at Panda Express for 9 years or 9 months. My senior year in high school, again, I was selling and just abusing a lot and didn't play basketball my senior year because I got too caught up in drugs and partying. Anyway, after high school, once I graduated, I almost didn't graduate high school because I skipped so much school my senior year because I was too busy selling and smoking and partying. And, I was working full time and I was just about making money and girls and partying. Anyways, going after high school, I barely graduated. I was like, man, I really need to get my shit together. And, at the time I was following this guy named Brian Casella. And I was like, man, I need to get into real estate because I want to be, really successful. I invested $1,000 into this Dean Graziosi wholesaling course to learn wholesaling. I read his book, Mindset of Success or Millionaire Mindset. I read his book that, I was reading Think and Grow Rich because I was still into personal development, right? Think and Grow Rich. I was still reading a whole bunch of books in high school, even though I was partying and not on the best path. So I started after high school, still working full time at Panda Express, and I was, studying to get my real estate license. I was interviewing at Remax and Keller Williams and Century 21. Anyways, I did that all summer after graduating. I got burnt out, right? Because I wasn't really passionate or had interest or had enough of a why to get into real estate. And so I just kind of my gay coworker, me and him were real tight. His name's Miguel. We were coworkers in Dunkin' Donuts. Anyway, he told me, "Hey, I thought you were going to move to Los Angeles or move to California after high school. What about that? What about that?" And honestly, I was so like burnt out and like emotionally like just exhausted that I was like, "Bro, bet I'll leave to LA tonight." And he's like, "Will you? Well, bet. Well, whatever." And then anyway, I ended up shaking my boss's hand, looking him dead in the eyes at Panda Express and said, "Hey, I'm moving to LA tonight." Packed up my car that night and drove. First, my dad was in Modesto, Stockton area, California, visiting. He was with his girlfriend at the time. So I stopped by there. Then went to San Jose because I had an uncle, my uncle Mike in San Jose, stayed there for like a week or two. Then I drove down to LA and I stayed in LA for about a month. My grandma's from down there, so I could stay at her place for like 1 or 2 weeks in Lake Arrowhead and San Bernardino County. And then I lived in my car for like 2 weeks at like Venice and Huntington Beach and Santa Monica and Hollywood, just like trying to like experience life and figure out exactly what I wanted to do. So that really adventurous journey was really a cool adventurous story. Anyways, I ended up getting clarity. I'm like, hey, I've been really into fitness this whole time. Why don't I just become a personal trainer? Let me try that out. So I went back to Carson City, Nevada for about a month at my dad's, got my NASM certification as a personal trainer, moved to my uncle Mike's, renting a room from him. I renting a room from him in San Jose. Ended up getting hired as a personal trainer and also worked at GNC selling supplements at the mall. I did that roughly around 6 months, 6 months to a year. Then COVID-19 happened, right? At 19 years old, I already wanted to become an entrepreneur, build my own brand, and build my own coaching business. So I hired my first business mentor. It was $8,000. I paid him like everything I had, like $3,000 up front, and then I got on the payment plan to learn online marketing, online sales, how to become an online coach and get people results online. And that set me off to the races to where I'm at now, 5 years later. Since then, I've coached over 1,000 clients. And it's been a journey. It hasn't been all uphills. At the time, after doing that, I ended up becoming part of a demonic cult I was a part of for roughly around 2 years. Actually helped me see a lot of business success and make a lot of money, make my first ten to $15,000 months in that demonic cult in San Jose, California, the Bay Area. But I had a girlfriend at the time, and she was really raised Catholic. She was going to a Christian school, Biola, the Bible Institution of Los Angeles. Anyways, she gave me an ultimatum and a whole bunch of stuff. It's a whole long story. I actually have other videos talking about the whole demonic cult thing. So if you want to check out, I think it's my testimony or my story. If you scroll through my YouTube channel, you'll see my story or my testimony. You'll learn more about that. But anyways, I ended up leaving the demonic cult, moving to Los Angeles, lived there for roughly around a year and a half. Ended up going to Biola for one semester, the Bible Institution of Los Angeles in La Mirada. Shout out Whittier. I lived in Whittier, La Mirada, Fullerton, Orange County. Lived all there for about a year and a half with my ex. And then anyway, ended up leaving school because of a lot of personal issues and some conflicts and some things that just weren't working out, and school wasn't for me. I was going to be a pastor, preacher, converted obviously from the demonic cult to becoming Christian. Shout out Jesus, went really hardcore Christian for a long time. And anyway, moved back over here to the country in Eastern Washington, North Idaho area near Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And I've been living here roughly around 2.5 years now. And me and my ex ended up breaking up because of the long distance and just not being aligned with certain things over time. And anyways, in the last 2.5 years, I've been still grinding with my coaching business, transforming lots of people's lives with mindset, personal development. I'm really invested in Tony Robbins, a lot of his mentorship. I go to a lot of his events. I'm a certified extreme execution coach by Eric Thomas. Looked up Eric Thomas at 13 years old. Anyways, I ended up getting certified as an extreme execution coach by him. It was a $6,000 certification. I flew to Detroit and Lansing, Michigan. Shout out Lansing, Michigan. Shout out Detroit. Flew there for about a week to get this extreme execution certification. It's coaching people based off their personalities, their superpowers, and their limitations to create breakthroughs in romance, relationships, marriage, fitness, business, finances, you name it, coaching people based off their personality and their superpowers and limitations to create those breakthroughs and reach the next level. I did an extreme execution coaching program for about 6 months, coached about 20, 30 people through that program. It's more of a personal development coaching program. Now, still do a lot of fitness and health coaching. I do some business and personal branding mentorship coaching. I do a lot of the stuff I learned from Eric Thomas and Tony Robbins. I do a lot of personal development, life coaching, helping people create breakthroughs in relationships, romance, finance, business, and fitness and health. Obviously, fat loss, building muscle, getting abs. Fitness and health is my bread and butter, specifically, mainly with busy professionals, real estate professionals, life insurance, financial advisors, people, even parents, entrepreneurs, CEOs, people that have busy schedules, right? Growth-minded high performers is typically who I work with. Anyways, in the last 2.5 years, I've had ups and downs in businesses. I ended up doing door-to-door sales for a total of about 4 months. I did 3 months of pest control, door-to-door sales in Utah within the last 2.5 years. And I also did 1 month for solar in different parts of California. Um, you know, Stockton, Modesto, Sacramento, San Luis, Santa Maria, right? Did door-to-door sales, solar there. I've done different political work, working with different political campaigns. But other than that, coaching has been my bread and butter, mainly over the last 5 years, generating multiple six figures, coaching over 1,000 paid clients over the last 5 years. So anyway, that's a little bit about my story. I don't want to make this podcast episode too long. But there's been a lot of lessons that have came from that. And I'm sure all of you guys, you can relate that life is valleys, valleys and peaks, and it's cyclical, right? This is a great book called The Fourth Turning. Again, guys, I've read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books, right? You got the Holy Bible, but we got a whole bunch of books, hundreds of books. I highly recommend reading. But life is cyclical, right? There's seasons of life, there's seasons in the economy, there's seasons in war, there's seasons, right? And there's ups and downs, there's peaks and there's valleys. But I think the main thing over the last years is no matter what, being persistent. Tony Robbins teaches if you're not growing, you're dying. So no matter if you are in a valley, right, continuing to seek growth, continue to be interested, continue to be curious, continue to read books, continue to, invest in yourself through events or coaching or mentorship or whatever you can. Like I've invested over 100 grand in mentorship. I've worked with 3 online fitness coaches myself. I've hired a life coach before. I've worked with a different mindset coaches. I've worked with, tens and tens of thousands of dollars into business mentorship, learning different things. I'm all about growing in all areas, even when I've gone through the biggest trials and tribulations. Obviously God and spirituality and that is huge. Sticking to your fitness and health and eating correctly and training is huge. Sticking to having healthy habits and not falling victim to bad habits. All of these have helped me through my trials and tribulations over the years. So, anyway, I just wanted to share a little bit about my story so you know a little bit more about my personal life, not only professionally and what I've done professionally, but also personally. Some different challenges that I've had, leaving a demonic cult, My father not being around growing up at all. I moved there when I was 16, so I had 2 years with my father. 1 year after I graduated high school, he became homeless. He's been homeless now for 4 or 5 years. I try to help him out as much as I can. Now I try to live up here at least as much as I can to be around for my siblings, my mother, my grandparents. Both my grandparents just overcame cancer, uh, battling with cancer. So I've been trying to been being around helping them. So anyway, I just want to share a little bit more about me and my personal life and what's behind the scenes, other than just fitness and health, abs and biceps, value, books, personal development. Like obviously, that's a huge part of who I am and what I preach and how I live and how I help you and help people. But I just wanted to give you guys a little bit more insight in who I am, some different things I've overcame, breakups, um, leaving a demonic cult, family issues, both my grandparents overcoming cancer, even business struggles. Been doing online coaching now for 5 years. Even though I have generated multiple six figures from my online coaching business and being a full-time business owner, it hasn't been easy. There has been trials. There has been slower times. There has been peaks where I was making 15, 16,000 a month, consistent 10,000 plus months, multiple years over six figures. But there's also been challenges within the 5 years as well. And, that's not the most, I think 95% of businesses fail within their first 5 years, I believe is the stat. So, anyways, just want to share that with you guys. Please, share this with family and friends, share this with whoever you think might get value from this. Please like the video, drop in the comments your main takeaway, or if you relate with anything that I shared today. And yeah, as always, if you guys want to connect with me personally or are interested in any of my coaching programs, you can book a call, apply for my programs, or connect with me on Facebook or Instagram at Devin Kripe. All right, guys, it's your boy DC, Coach DC, Devin Kripe. God bless you. I love you. God bless you, and much love. See you guys next time. Savage, average is the enemy, and savage is the new standard. God bless you guys. Much love.